Extremely warm ocean waters in the Pacific may be responsible for the deaths of as many as 1 million seabirds. Scientists have been tracking the heated waters, informally known as the blob now, the ocean blob, for years. It's a 1,000-mile stretch of ocean that is as much as 10 degrees warmer than the surrounding waters. The dead birds and a fish-eating species were starved to death between the summer of 2015 and the spring of 2016, and they washed up on the shores from California all the way up to Alaska.
Crown Beach, which is quite beautiful this time in the late afternoon. It was actually about this time yesterday afternoon when a longtime resident was taking a walk on the beach. He came across something that was very disturbing.
I was walking down the beach last night and early this morning, and I saw 6 of these shorebirds.
John Cabasakalis has been walking Alameda's Crown Beach since he was a kid, and he's never seen anything quite like this before. A half-dozen dead birds, all in the last 24 hours. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I have not seen anything like this, and this was the only species that was dead. All the seagulls, shorebirds, terns, ravens, they're all still running around here.
The birds appear to be the western grebe, according to the experts at both the Lindsay Wildlife Museum and International Bird Rescue. Still, some who frequent Crown Beach worry when they see a number of dead birds all at once. You'd at least like to see somebody look into it?
Yes, I would like someone to look into it.
This was something that sort of exceeded all past events and continued to go far beyond what anybody expected would ever happen.
Wildlife biologist John Pyatt had been studying the mass die-off ever since it happened. He says researchers counted about 62,000 dead or dying seabirds back in 2015 and 16, but he believes the actual number is much higher.
We estimate that the total actually killed was somewhere between 500,000 and 1.2 million.
Initially, scientists believed the birds died due to disease or toxins in the water, but recently they discovered it was likely a marine heat wave. It was something caretakers at the Wildlife Center of the North Coast had never seen before. They were treating hundreds of birds every day. There had been die-offs in the past, but nothing as massive as this.
NOAA announced yesterday that our oceans were the warmest ever on record in 2019. To put this into perspective, the amount of heat we've put into the world's oceans in the past 25 years equals 3.6 billion Hiroshima atom bomb explosions.
Takeaway from this study is that the warming of our oceans is actually accelerating too, and virtually everywhere on our global oceans is significantly warmer. That accelerating rate of the warming of our oceans has increased 450%, and this is really interesting because it's kind of hard for, I think, the average person to wrap their head around just what that means as far as a couple degrees.
The heat is also making the ocean more acidic, which has enormous impacts on fisheries around the world. Warmer waters also means the oceans hold less oxygen. This can kill certain types of marine life and produces dead zones where fish just can't survive.
That's another new study out just this week.
Fleeing from the flames, this possum is just one of many animals around Australia seeing its habitat go up in smoke. But this season has been unprecedented. Landscapes usually left unscathed have been decimated.
Look, it's overwhelming, this fire. Right now, 150 fires burning, thousands of houses burnt to the ground, 12 million acres burnt and destroyed. Now, 12 million acres, think about it. That's about New Hampshire and Vermont put together. That's a big swath of land. Also, 500 million, and this is a big disparity, but you're looking someplace between 500 million and 1 billion animals killed by these fires. Now, Australians have been fighting these fires for months, as you've mentioned, and don't forget, this is the beginning of the Australian summer. It's a very dry year. It's a very hot year.
The once tranquil holiday haven under siege again. The sky turning an eerie blood orange, then almost pitch black at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Very eerie, and it's Incredible, isn't it?
The sky looking as apocalyptic as this, it's easy to see why aircraft simply can't come into town.
Pictures pouring in from the fire-ravaged south coast, we could barely believe.
Bushfires have burned more than 12 million acres here, an area 40 times the size of Los Angeles.
The high winds saw 3 blazes merge at the border.
The size of 500,000 football fields.
Flames so powerful they can form their own weather. On the weekend, one massive fire jumped a river.
The eerie fire glow has travelled all the way across the ditch, with the Auckland sky turning orange from an unprecedented layer of smoke from our bushfires. The haze was so bad that a large number of New Zealanders called emergency services.
Here we are, New Year's Eve, midday in Bateman's Bay.
The sky just getting darker and darker.
It is not looking good.
So quickly, I can't believe it.
This is midday in the middle of Bateman's Bay.
You know, I've never really seen it this bad, so I think it's not usually like this. Australia's usually, a lovely place.
Heavy storms across Israel are causing even more flooding throughout the country, and some of the videos that are coming out are just shocking, honestly.
An intense winter storm is hitting Israel for the second time in just 2 weeks, causing severe flooding and roadblocks. Dramatic scenes of entire streets underwater. The intense rain in northern Israel also caused the sea level of the Sea of Galilee to rise almost half an inch, and is expected to rise even more. And just north of the Sea of Galilee, 4 inches of snow fell overnight in Mount Hermon on the edge of the Golan Heights.
Emergency services have been scrambling to rescue people trapped in cars on waterlogged roads in the north, more specifically, and 15 kids were actually even rescued from a flooded kindergarten. So stay safe in this crazy weather. You will not be biking home today.
No, unfortunately I won't be. But moving on now.
That earthquake rocking Puerto Rico, the 5.8 quake striking as people slept. The latest challenge to the island, still reeling from devastating hurricanes 2 years ago.
Puerto Rico rocked by a 5.8 earthquake. In this neighborhood, houses cracked, shaken right off their foundations. It was one of the strongest quakes to ever hit the U.S. territory, causing small landslides on this highway. Drivers forced to avoid boulders during their morning commute. Officials say tremors have been hitting the area since late December. The quake striking at 6:32 a.m. local time.
Devastation in Puerto Rico. Take a look at that. A powerful magnitude 6.4 earthquake jolted the southwestern part of the island.
I was just looking on the USGS website. There was just a 4.4 magnitude, 5.8, 4.5. They won't stop.
New surveillance video shows a tremor hitting this convenience store after the largest quake in a century. A 6.4 rocked Puerto Rico.
This is the largest in a series of earthquakes that have hit the island in recent days. We have video from inside of a Barceloneta grocery store this morning.
Aftershocks forcing television news anchors to evacuate the studio during a live broadcast.
Vamos.
A 6.4 magnitude tremor leveling businesses and homes, damaging schools. This church completely destroyed.
Now, if you're wondering how common a 6.0 magnitude or greater earthquake is, on a global scale, they happen about 120 times a year.
And has had about 700 earthquakes since the end of December. Most of those go unnoticed. And get this, after yesterday's 5.8 quake, I reached out to a seismologist with the USGS to find out what the chances were that there would be something stronger than a 5.8. He put the odds at 3%. And it happened this morning. The odds did not work out in their favor. Before we go, we want you to see this. Immaculate Conception Church in Guayanilla. We went there Wednesday. Built in 1841, it was destroyed by Tuesday's 6.4 magnitude quake. It's worth noticing what appears to be untouched. The statues have fallen, the altar's there, the side walls have both collapsed. But the gospel book, untouched. And on the wall there, you see the crack in it, but the picture of Christ appears to be untouched. Here's what happened over the last 48 hours. It happened Saturday morning, just before 9 a.m. A 5.9 magnitude earthquake centered off the southwestern coast rocked the entire island of Puerto Rico. It was the strongest quake since last week's devastating 6.4, which killed one person and damaged hundreds of buildings. Saturday's earthquake did not injure or kill anyone, but there were landslides.
Over the last few weeks, more than 1,000 tremors have displaced some 8,000 people here.
This is the Costa Sur power plant, the largest one in Puerto Rico. It is still out of commission after the earthquakes, and authorities estimate it could take a year to repair.
That scenes from the church is very touching.
Yeah,
the book is open, the picture of Jesus is okay. They have a long road back.
We cover hurricanes and earthquakes in Puerto Rico. It's worth remembering it's also a gorgeous place to live.
Tonight at 10, and this one might surprise some of you, but last year there were more than 200 UFO sightings in Arizona.
Days where you just wake up and you're so happy to be alive.
Yeah, like today.
Today, that day?
That's awesome.
I'm very thankful to be here with you ladies.
In this new year, the sightings continue to grow of UFOs. But now there is this specific claim that is causing a frenzy.
Some of them off the California coast have baffled people around the world. Tonight, the military is finally admitting they have no idea what they are.
New reports, 5 pilots coming forward over the weekend saying they've had multiple mid-air encounters with high-flying, fast-moving objects.
And now, at least one pilot says he saw them daily.
New reporting this morning on unidentified flying objects in our airspace. The New York Times speaking with 5 Navy pilots who've all said they've encountered UFOs during training missions up and down the East Coast. The pilots even noting that the objects were accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew.
Clearly, this is nothing that we're used to seeing out there. We submitted a safety report saying that there was an unidentified object in our working space, and we don't know what to do.
It's not to say they're alien craft, of course. But here is one of those UFOs. This is footage shot in 2004 from a US military aircraft. You'll see that video changing the focus briefly. The object jumps up in size just to see better before whatever it is they're filming takes off to the left. And then, of course, 4 years ago, there was another unidentified object which astonished the US pilots that were tracking it.
There's been a recent spike in UFO sightings, but now some are reporting seeing snake-like cylindrical objects moving in the sky. One was even spotted over the state of New York.
It's the UFO there. Got it in the shot.
The past few months, people from all parts of the country have claimed that they have captured strange objects in the skies on camera. But there's a specific sighting that is causing a frenzy. Take a look. The video, first published on YouTube by the user Tales from Out There, shows a snake-like stream of light spiraling across the sky. The user also claims that they saw a red orb-type object being dropped from the triangular figure. According to the Daily Star, the snake-like so-called UFO has been seen across 8 states in the U.S. in 2019 alone.
It's going over the lake now.
However, skeptics say it could be anything from drones to satellite launches. Seeing flying objects in the skies these days has never been so common.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Meantime, in September, the Navy confirmed UFO videos are real. In fact, the Navy was prompted to draft formal procedures for pilots and other personnel to document these encounters because of a recent uptick in strange sightings over the military airspace. Nick Carnez, an ex-United States Marine Corps soldier who served in Afghanistan as an intel officer, said in a statement, "We have reports from various countries across the globe of witnesses seeing similar objects."
And listen, nobody at the Department of Defense is saying these are extraterrestrial. In fact, they say that there could be earthly explanations for all of this, but a lot of people are left wondering, guys.
I like how you did the air quotes. Earthly explanations. We'll see.
It says these are unidentified aerial phenomena or UFOs for any other. They're not actually saying extraterrestrial. They're saying, let's take a good look at this. And I think as a scientist, we have to acknowledge this, that it's time to take a closer look. There's enough good reports by good observers. One would argue that pilots are pretty decent observers. If they're saying something they can't explain, maybe it's time to take a closer look.
But like I said earlier, if you feel unsafe or you feel like you need to say something, hey, say it, investigate it, we'll see what happens.
Joe said, yes, seen in Phoenix more than once. It's dumb that they always say it's a weather balloon.
I like that Jennifer says we're afraid of what we don't know. That is the absolute truth.
It's a big galaxy out there.
Yeah.
You think we're all alone?
We don't really know.
Think we're all alone in the galaxy?
I mean, no. I don't
Is that a heavy question?
No, but I've never thought about what else is going on. I often think about like that like, what is it all for? The question.
Yeah.
Like do we exist, or is this a level of subconscious that maybe we just think we're all existing and we're working and we're driving, but are we really doing any What of if those we things? are the Or we all aliens? just What think if that we are the aliens?
Now we're
And
throwing
it's like, I didn't even drink last night.
And nobody knows where they're coming from. Now people are wondering if the truth is really out there.
Parts of eastern Australia have seen more than a month's worth of rain in just 24 hours after one of the driest Decembers on record. After widespread storms, more than 10 communities across 3 states saw their heaviest deluge in years.
As fire crews urge people not to travel to the south coast ahead of tomorrow's horror conditions.
Because at the moment, these health experts say we are living in uncharted territory when it comes to these pollution levels.
It's absolutely unprecedented. For Australia, we're in new territory.
It's been a long time coming, but today, sweet relief. The sound of rain on the roof and the sight of rain in the gauge, enough to make some cry. And while it wasn't the answer to all our prayers, it has helped.
Much needed rain finally helping to stop the spread of bushfires across our country's east coast.
Disbelief even from those who had seen it all before. Rain in some of the driest parts.
From fires to floods.
Have a go at it. Look at what's coming in the park, a wall of water.
The downpour at the Australian Reptile Park in Summersby, heaven sent for a species decimated in the last few weeks.
New warnings tonight of a volcanic tsunami in the Philippines after an eruption near Manila. Lightning struck as a plume of ash spewed up to 9 miles into the sky. Tremors shook the area.
Actually shows the huge plume of smoke spewing from the volcano. And check this out. People have been capturing eerie images of lightning bolts shooting.
Dramatic video shows a lightning storm yesterday in the volcanic clouds. Ash spewed in the air for miles.
To the growing danger in the Philippines, authorities are now warning that an active volcano could possibly erupt again.
This eruption is the Taal volcano's first in more than 40 years.
Thick volcanic ash blanketed entire towns, caked roads in slippery mud, and covered acres of farmland, turning this normally packed tourist hub into ghost towns of gray.
There's just a massive earthquake, and now even police officers will have to leave from their station. We were just here a few moments ago, hoping to embed with them, but now we really have to leave this place.
The initial blast over the weekend shooting plumes of ash. Inside that cloud, streaks of volcanic lightning. Tens of thousands forced from their homes. Today we found village after village empty, blanketed in ash.
We flew over Lipa City towards Taal Lake. What we saw there was beyond human comprehension. What was once a popular tourist destination is now unrecognizable.
2 days ago, this was a bustling community. Now it's a ghost town. Ash has fallen like snow, stripping the color from the world.
Inside the danger zone, utter devastation, livestock left behind. Many now taking their chances, going back to save the animals they can carry.
A volcano has erupted in a remote part of Ecuador, spewing rock and lava into the night sky. The volcano, known as the Reventador, is located in the South American Amazon region.
Steamboat Geyser in Yellowstone National Park erupted for the 48th time this year, back on the 26th of December.
Now, if the current pattern of eruptions every 8 or 9 days holds, it's not likely to erupt again this year. But MTN's John Shear reports those 48 eruptions set a huge new record.
Yellowstone National Park has seen more geyser eruptions this year than in the past 5 years combined. In fact, from 2015 to 2017, the geysers didn't erupt at all.
Scientists are scratching their heads.
But it's very difficult to test them just because we don't have the data that we need, and especially going back in time, lots and lots of data, to be able to really nail down what we think might be happening.
That quest for more knowledge, for a better understanding of the world's greatest concentration of geysers, is what keeps pulling Poland back to Yellowstone.
You never know what you're going to learn here because it's so wide open. Even though we've been studying it for 150 years, there's still a tremendous amount to learn here.
What's been called a climate crisis this past year brought an unusual number of powerful storms and deadly wildfires around the country and really all around the world.
And rising over Australia tonight, this phenomenon, the so-called fire clouds, spawning dangerous weather conditions, fueling the flames. And the battle with the elements goes to the ends of the earth. Heat levels in the ocean, the highest ever recorded.
Delhi is expected to get respite from the cold wave as temperatures may rise. The fog has lifted because of moderate winds from the east, but Uttar Pradesh's Kanpur shivered on Tuesday with the temperature hitting as low as 0 degrees.
Those extreme and deadly wildfires continue to ravage Australia, and tonight, the alarming numbers. According to a new report, the last decade was the Earth's warmest on record.
It's worth noticing what appears to be untouched. The statues have fallen, the altars there, the side walls have both collapsed. But the Gospel book, untouched.
Severe weather patterns and a disruption to the established seasons and whatnot.
The heaviest rainfall in more than a decade has caused flooding in Jakarta and surrounding areas in West Java. The rain began on Tuesday night and triggered landslides on the city's outskirts. Indonesia's meteorology department has called the rain very extreme.
As flood storms increase, on the other hand, droughts and wildfires increase.
But the Gospel book, untouched.